All right, so the first thing here that I'm going to do is I just want to share with Chris. I want to share a little something with Chris. Having grown up around you and having Scoot with us the whole time, I know that Scoot really couldn't have asked for a better brother, right? I have a brother, there's brothers in the room, and you were just like the most supportive dude. So whether supporting him with simple encouragement or picking him up to bring him down to Boston to do his doctor's appointments, or housing him, or picking up a meal, or flying him to international destinations to explore Portugal and Spain. You've always been there for him through the tough times and the good, and your brotherly bond with him is admirable from me, who has a brother as well. And he loved and appreciated and deeply respected you, and I think that you should find some solace in the fact that the way you've watched out for your brother will be the way that he watches out for you as your guardian angel. So cheers to you. Let's give Chris a round of applause. Lori and Eric, I want to just say a few words to you guys. Lori and Eric, I know I speak for everyone when I say that our hearts go out to you. Losing a child is something that no one should have to endure, yet here we are. It takes a certain type of resilience and strength to adapt and find balance after an event as traumatic as this. Our prayers are with you to heal. And I also want to say that as someone who has also experienced, the loss of close ones, we might ask ourselves, what could I have done differently to keep that from happening? I think it's easy to feel guilty, and I think the most important thing right now is that you guys have done a really good job raising two rambunctious boys. And Scoot was always destined to carve his own path in life, regardless of the guidance, tough love, and nurturing support that you guys provided him. You guys are amazing parents and should be nothing but proud of how you raise your family. So, cheers to you guys. All right, that said, it's time to lighten up the mood. After all, this is a celebration of life, right? So I prepared a few brief stories of some of my favorite memories with Scoot that I'd like to share with you guys. They made me smile and reflect on his character, which I think is a nice way to honor him today. So let's start here. All right, this picture here. This is Scoot with one of the native macaque monkeys that inhabit the Rock of Gibraltar. I took this picture in September of 2019. This was an epic adventure. Aaron, Chris, and I explored Portugal and Spain for a week. We made it down here to Gibraltar, and this was at the southern point of Spain. It separates Spain and Africa by the ocean. We were intending to go to Morocco for a couple days, but we decided to rage it out in Lisbon instead, so we didn't end up making it to Africa. The story here is that Chris and Aaron's aunt, who's also named Aaron, had invited them to come down and visit, and she and her family had rented a house in Portugal, right? So in typical Chris fashion, he extended the invite to one of his friends. It's a little bit of an inside joke. If you guys know Chris, he was always great with inclusion. He's getting better with it, he says. Even if the host wasn't prepared to have him, right? So I just showed up in Portugal. I'm sure his aunt had no idea I was going to be there. I can't tell you how many occasions we've had like a dinner party. There's not an extra place setting, and Chris shows up with Scoot. We make it happen, and in retrospect, I'm really happy that you always included your brother and everything. So that was awesome. Anyways, on this trip, Chris convinced me to drop everything. Sounds like Scoot telling you to take a month off and come along for the adventure. I didn't think that I was going to be able to make it because of workload, whatever, but I'm glad that I did because honestly it was the trip of a lifetime. I had so much fun with you guys. So let's go to this little video of the bullfight. Maybe this will get some attention. You guys ever been to a bullfight? It's pretty rowdy. So our first night in Portugal, we went to a bullfight. It was a cool experience, but Scoot was not digging it because they torment the bulls. They hit them with spears and stuff. They get them fired up, and then they put the guys out there, and they're fighting the bulls. So he and a few others actually left the flight early, which is why he's not in this picture with the family at the bullfight. And I think it's a good example of Scoot's character. Aaron wasn't afraid to speak up. He wasn't afraid to speak up or put his foot down for something that he fought for. Yeah, sure. Animal cruelty for the sake of entertainment wasn't something that he subscribed to, and he had a good moral compass, and I think that comes from you guys. After the bullfight, we met Aaron out. This was the scene here. This is in Portugal. You're in an Uber car. Picture seeing this.
What is this chick doing, dude? You can't let her give you the drink like that.
Yeah, okay, so fast forward to that scene because it was just like an outrageous, spontaneous moment. This was after the bullfight. We were in Portugal, and you can imagine in a city where they don't really have the repercussions for people hitting Ubers with big, large blow-up dolls, that it was a really fun night. It was a good time getting around and experiencing the local culture there. After that, guys, it was just about a bucket list of the places we wanted to visit. We were in Portugal, we were in Spain, we went to scenic vistas. This is a castle where Christopher Columbus is buried. This here is a picture of, some of the views of Portugal. We were calling this the Rave Cave. This is where, this is in the Rock of Gibraltar. These are stalagmites, they light them up. It's a good scene. So, we checked out all this stuff, and, Chris and Scoot were having the time of their lives, and I was just kind of a third wheel, which was great. From there, we went on these adventures. Here's a cool adventure of us cruising around in the kayaks, in the caves, in Spain. Quick little video of some of the stuff that we did while we were out there. There he is. Just his hunger for adventure was amazing. Here's us jumping off of cliffs together. This was a topless beach in Spain, which we all got good humor out of. Beautiful area. And then we went to all these historic landmarks. This here is a castle behind us. And this here, I put up, Lori, for you. This is a lady praying for Scoot outside of the castle in Spain. I love that video. She was praying for him, and he was super engaged. That was a highlight of our trip. So this is Aaron and Scoot on scooters. We're in Seville, Spain. They hated us. We were raging through town on these little scooters, interrupting services. And I don't know any of you guys if you've been on a bird scooter or not, but funny little story about this. This is how we got around Spain. And here's Scoot on the scooter. And what was funny about this was we would go from here to different restaurants. We'd show up at a tapas restaurant at 1 a.m. and have some prosciutto. I had the prosciutto. You guys were having vegetarian stuff probably. And we'd get out of the restaurant and one of the scooters would be gone. So there'd be 2 scooters left with 3 of us. So what do you do in that situation? You jump on one of these scooters with 2 people on it. Going nut to butt, you're holding your buddy's waist in front of you. There were wipeouts.
No shame.
It was great, no shame. I mean, that wouldn't be the first time. I've spent many a nights on Chris's boat, sharing a bed with Scoot. This picture here was our last night in Portugal. This is Chris and Aaron. It's remember, it was this secret parking garage club at the top of the garage, rooftop club. and we had a great time, of course, but what was funny about this night was most nights we were running around, and Chris, I don't know if you guys know Chris, but he would pull up Hotel Tonight, like an hour before we would stay at a hotel. He'd find a hotel and we'd stay there. That night, we stayed in this car. It was like 3 dudes, 6 foot plus, staying in a compact car, and nobody slept. There was snoring going on. It was awesome. So anyways, that was a really amazing trip, and honestly, you know, for me, I didn't think I was going to step out of there. I'm just so proud that, you know, you were so persistent to get me out there, because I had so much fun bonding with you guys and being in a foreign land and not knowing what the hell we were doing and having to rely on each other. So, you know, that was just one of the highlights of my life, and really the stories that we were sharing with all the windshield time. It was really amazing. So that's that. I got one other thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to hand up the mic. You guys know Scoot's Auto? I'm going to play with this for a minute, because did it surprise any of you when Scoot became a car salesman? Seriously, you think about a car salesman, right? You're thinking like tie, suit, passionate about cars. I think about Jared Saunders, 3-piece suit, cowboy hat, boots, driving Bentleys or something. Attaboy. Does Scoot own a suit? Does he own a tie? I mean, his family's seen him at, you know, events in suits, but the only car I've ever seen Scoot drive was like his parents' Volvo or like a late model Toyota Corolla, and you're buying cars from him. Did anybody in here buy a car from Scoot by show of hands? No. And my point in bringing that up, I'm not trying to rag on Scoot. I think it was like a harebrained idea between Chris and Jared and his partner Louie to get something going. You know, Scoot wasn't a car salesman to me. Scoot was a philosopher. Scoot was a thinker. Scoot was a reader. Scoot was a historian. Scoot could debate with the best of them, you know? Scoot taught me a lot of things. He would come over to my house and be like, this softbound book doesn't have a crease in the binding. You haven't even read it. That's the Scoot I know. You know, and so for me, I always found that to be hilarious, that Scoot Auto became a thing. I think everybody should go over there and buy a car from him. And I'm going to wrap up here with this. Somewhere in my notes. Scoot was a thrill seeker. He liked the Appalachian Trail and hiked it by himself. He spent nights camping on the tops of mountains with only a headlamp and a book to keep him company. Raj. I think this is Mount Thompson, Raj. You guys are at the top, wherever that. Musalaki. Thank you for the correction. So, you know, my final words here, guys. Scoot, in my opinion, was a beautifully complicated and special individual. He taught me many things, and one of the lessons that resonates with me, which he led by example, is to live life fully without regret, because it's more exciting that way, and we've only got one crack at it. Please help me in raising a glass to the one and only Scoot! Scoot! To Scoot.